Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird has confirmed that a Canadian national is a suspect in a Bulgarian bus bombing that killed 5 Israeli tourists last July. Bulgarian investigators say that Hezbollah was behind the brutal attack at a popular Black Sea resort. This news comes 2 weeks after Algeria claimed that a Canadian was among the Islamic militants who attacked a gas plant in the Sahara Desert. Anthony Seaboyer is a national security expert at the Royal Military College of Canada. He joins us from Kingston, Ontario. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Seaboyer, it's always going to be a concern, of course, when information leads for Canada to believe that one of its own was involved in something like this. But it's also shined the spotlight on dual citizenship. Is there a concern also there that this might be exploited by terrorists?
Well, sure. The concern is reasonable if we see this in one or more cases being the case. I mean, obviously, this is not what we want to see as Canadians. This is nothing we want to be having connected to Canadians. And we have to, the Canadian government and the Canadians as a total have to make sure every effort is taken, every reasonable effort is taken to prevent this from happening. Though the conclusion, I think, at this point that we have to look into every person who is having dual citizenship would be not appropriate to the amount of people that have misused this. I mean, there are many thousands of people that have dual citizenship. This is part of the Canadian identity at this point. And while it does make sense to look into certain people with certain nationalities, for sure, if there are other flags that come up, to generally say that we have to look in dual citizenship, I find at this point not an appropriate and necessary action.
What is the attraction then for terrorists, I guess, in terms of getting their hands on either dual citizenship or a Canadian passport?
Well, the Canadian reputation around the world is still very, very good. There's very few countries that offer passports that offer you the ability to enter so many countries so easily. For example, the United States, Canada is the only country where you can come in so easily to enter the United States. So there's for that reason alone, but it's similar with Australia to an extent. But for that reason alone, there's always going to be an effort by criminals, by terrorists, to access Canadian documents to have easier access to countries around the world. That's nothing we're going to be able to end anytime soon, because that has to do with the reputation of Canada as a country that's being abused in that case.
Right, and let me ask you about the reputation. Because these incidents are only 2 weeks apart, I mean, we're talking about the attack now in Bulgaria and before in Algeria. What kind of a black eye does it give, if it gives Canada a black eye, in terms of its international reputation?
Well, definitely this is not what we want, but I think that will be seen in proportion to how many incidents are there really. 2 in 2 weeks is really not good. It's something that has to be taken serious, and it is taken very serious. From my academic perspective, all that I see is that the Canadian institutions are cooperating very strongly among each other regarding this, but also with international organizations, with the U.S., with Israel, with Bulgaria on this. There has been a massive effort to look into how this has happened in the last 6 months, and that's what is necessary. But any response, as I say, has to be in proportion, and I think we have to be concerned, but we also have to notice that it is only 2 as a fairly, very low number of incidents, even though these are very dramatic, and we should try to make every reasonable effort to prevent them from happening.
Has it eroded the reputation internationally at all? I mean, in the past several years, with so much attention on terrorism, there was a time when if a teenager went backpacking in Europe, they were told, put a Canadian flag on it, you'll be fine. Has that changed?
Not that I know of. I mean, the incidents are comparatively, as I say, comparatively minimal. I mean, it does. That Canada did have a reputation as being a safe haven for terrorists, but the Harper government has made it a clear goal to prevent this from continuously happening. And after the India report, there has been increased cooperation between Canadian security institutions, CSIS, RCMP, local police, and a lot more has been done. And it is clearly, and that's known to countries around the world, that's known that it's much more difficult to perform any kind of such activities and training in this country. And I think that is very much appreciated around the world.
Okay, Mr. Seaboyer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.